Are you ready? Okay, bet. I don't remember how we started off last time, but start off with some cheers. Some cheers warming up in here. Hello, guys, and welcome back. This is episode 2 of the latest with Loren Lorosa. So, since y'all done popped my cherry already, and we I was gonna say 2 strokes in, but you could do 2 strokes on the first time. We 2 episodes in now. We're warming up to each other. It's feeling like home. I'm excited to hear all the feedback. Thank you for everybody that joined the live that I did when I went live with the BlackEffect podcast network and told me that y'all have been watching the show or listening to the show. I'm so used to being on TV. Listening to the show and, giving me some feedback. The biggest thing that you guys keep asking me is when are you going to be able to see it? And we have an answer now. Drum roll, please. I have a drum roll. Wait, y'all, I just got here. Do I not have a drum roll? Taylor will put in a drum roll. Go, Taylor. Woo-hoo. So to answer your question, videos will be releasing on YouTube. They'll be releasing on Loren Lorosa TV. The videos for the podcast release 2 days after the audio. So if you as locked into me as I need y'all to be, I need you guys to subscribe to the audio wherever you get your podcast, the iHeart app, the podcast app through Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff. Subscribe to the audio because that's where everything will always go first. First, fast, efficient, factual. That is what we giving over here, okay? I'm Loren Lorosa. I'm the homegirl that knows a little bit about everything and everybody. And let's get on into this episode 2. So today I'm actually here. I have family here in my apartment as we are recording this. I have friends. My mom is here. Y'all see my makeup is done. My makeup always be done. My makeup is done. My makeup is always done. Okay, the girl's always giving. But today, this is like special beat, special hair, because we are actually getting ready to head to the launch party for the podcast. It's a private launch party event that we're doing in New York, and I'm getting excited as the time goes on. It actually starts at 8 o'clock, and it's about 8 o'clock right now, but we still here. We're going to do this. Work comes first, but that's kind of like what the setting is. But as all of this was happening, so as my makeup was getting done, as my hair was getting done, I got an alert. I'm still subscribed to all of TMZ's alerts. I also get breaking news via Twitter from MSNBC, like all these different places. My phone like never stops with the notifications, and they released the audio, a 911 call from the night that young Scooter, the ATL rapper, that passed away last weekend on his 39th birthday. He was running from police and tore something, or something where he like bled out. There was an artery or something that was affected. He like was running from police and that happened, and he died because of that after there was a phone call made to police. So now we have more information. When this first released, like even today, well, I'm saying today, even this week when we did this story on the Breakfast Club, when I did the story, Envy, Charlotte, Jess, their biggest things was like, this is so random. This is so weird. What happened? Like there was so many holes to fill in. And this 911 call fills in a lot of holes. Now, I just recently learned that we probably cannot put the audio into these podcasts. So I have to be very descriptive when I'm describing these audio pieces that I'm talking to you guys about. So I did take some notes just on what the 911 call was. So the 911 call was about a 4-minute, 8-second audio. There was a woman who called in from the neighborhood. She was a neighbor of whatever the house this was that young Scooter and, these alleged 7 other men or 6 other men were at. So in the 911 call, it opens and it starts with her saying, hey, I'm Neighborhood Watch. There are about 7 men in a house. This house has a lot of activity. I don't know if they're selling drugs out of the house. I don't know if it's, prostitution or trafficking. Like she alleged a ton of different things. But what she was saying is like, look, it's something going on over there. There's guns. I'm hearing people argue about drugs. There's a little kid involved because the woman that I'm calling you guys about has a kid. Y'all need to get here now. Something's happening and y'all need to get here now. So as she's talking police through what she's saying different things like the woman was fighting with a man. She mentioned that, within this fight with this man, the man was not holding back on this woman. The woman got to a point where whatever the injuries were that she sustained, she was bleeding insanely. To the point where the woman on the phone call, who is the neighborhood watch person talking to the police on this 911 audio says, if y'all don't get here soon, she might not make it. Something's going to happen to her. And the dispatch, who's very calm throughout this whole thing, there's a woman on dispatch that's like, we have police that are headed there. We have police that are dispatched. Don't worry, we got you. But she's just trying to pull more detail out of the woman. So the woman goes in, and she's detailing a ton of different things. She says that at one point in the evening, she heard that same woman and one man in particular, even though she's saying that there were about 7 men living in this house, arguing about money and drugs. She says that the woman called someone to the house, called other men to the house, and there were gunshots that went off. After those gunshots went off is when the physical altercation between that woman that this neighborhood watch person is seeing and whoever this man is, and she doesn't identify the man, so we don't know who the man was. Before they get into it, they get into it. She calls people to the home, and then gunshots go off, and then they get into it again, and now this woman is like bleeding profusely, and that was a word she used, profusely. And you could tell she was very scared by whatever she was seeing. And she kept saying, I think she said it about 2 or 3 times, that there was a child involved, because the woman just had a baby, that there was a baby somewhere or a child somewhere in this house or somewhere in the situation. Now, police, after, because we didn't know all of this, like this call is very detailed and it paints a very different picture. In the beginning, when we heard about young Scooter's passing, what we heard was that something happened at a house. People were confused. There were reports that he had been shot by police, allegedly after something happened at a house. There were reports that he was at a trap house and something happened and shots were fired at the trap house and people were trying to get away, and that may have led to his passing. There were a lot of different reports. This phone call, and I will say police are still investigating, so this does not make this phone call law. But this phone call, which Atlanta police have released, this is not something that outlets just grab, which is possible. You can go and grab a 911 audio yourself. Like there's a system where you can look them up, record them, and drop them on your own. But they released this audio because they're trying to get in contact with this woman, the woman who called in, who is Neighborhood Watch. So the story is completely different now. In the beginning, we thought that, there were just like a crazy chain of events. Shots were fired. Young Scooter is obviously trying to get away from whoever, whether it's one of the other people at the home. Police said in a press conference that they believe that he was fleeing from the police. And within that, the injuries happened, which led to his passing. But now this is different. Now, I keep saying that this is different because police also said that they were not able to locate a woman. The woman who this Neighborhood Watch lady is saying was beat up really bad, was bleeding really bad. She was basically fearing for this woman's life. You now have an eyewitness that is saying, okay, this happened. This woman, this incident that led up, whether it's domestic or whatever it was, don't know, because police haven't, come out and said that indefinitely yet. But whatever that situation was with that woman, we do know that happened for sure, according to this person who called in, which changes the whole narrative around what led up to I don't even know if it changes it, because I don't think we really knew for sure what happened in the beginning. I think it paints a picture now. Like now, as you're trying to fill in the dots and, fill in the holes, you have a lot more to work with. Now, the craziest part about this is that the woman, right, who called in, who says, hey, I'm Neighborhood Watch, this is what I'm seeing. Police don't even know, they haven't located her. They're trying to locate her. That was the point of them putting the call out. So I reached out to law enforcement sources, and my first question was, okay, since you have this very detailed phone call, this woman who's telling you that she's Neighborhood Watch, she described everything. She was on the phone for the call is 4 minutes long, but a good, I would say 3 minutes, 30 seconds of that is her describing in very, very specific detail. Like she's watching it as it's happening. She's watching it as it's happening. And for me, if I'm a police officer, first thing I'm doing is trying to get to this person. So I assumed, because they had put this call out, that they had possibly spoken to her, and now they're just wanting to fill in the blanks, because again, there were a lot of accusations going around, and this story got so big because it just came out of nowhere. But after speaking to law enforcement sources, I now understand that they put the 911 call out because they're actually trying to locate this woman, who I'm almost for certain, once they locate her, once they talk to her, she's their key witness to everything, because the way that she described what was happening, and in this 911 call, she actually describes, I want to say she describes, I don't know if it's the woman or the man. I just remember her, and I would play the audio for y'all, but I'm not allowed to put it in here. But I remember she described someone's like build, like, I mean, their height, their weight, all of that. Because at first I'm like, neighborhood watch. Like, I know Atlanta does neighborhood watch, and that's a normal thing, but a lot of times neighborhood watch don't be bothered to call and be that descriptive and sit on the phone. But when she started describing the people that she was seeing and the way she was describing them, and I mean like height, weight, hair color, all that stuff, I'm like, oh no, this is someone who was trained to see things, pick up the phone and make a phone call. So locating this person is going to be very, like this could almost like, we gonna get everything we need once they locate this woman, be able to sit her down, have a conversation with her, and then from there, they'll be able to figure out like suspects and, you know, what actually happened, what actually led to it. Maybe they'll even be able to locate this woman that they're saying, you know, was harmed when they arrived to the scene, but police never saw her. Police never saw a woman. They never saw a woman harmed. They never spoke to a woman. So they put that call out there, and that's the update there. But I know it's still very open-ended, but when I tell you guys that, like, this is like a huge development to have a witness like that, even though they don't know who she is yet. But to have someone out there who saw and described things of that nature, the case is solved at this point, if you ask me. They just got to get to her and get to that woman. And granted, I don't know, you know, who the people are on the other side, whether they'll talk, whether they won't talk or whatever. But now you have a person who's now deceased, and you, again, have an eyewitness to that. So, you know, police do what they do. They throw the right charges around. You never know who you'll get to say what. So that's just a little bit of an update there. I still think that all of this is still like very, number one, random. Number two is still very much like, we need more though to actually know how we feel and what's going on. But I think it'll come. Today is Tuesday. No, today is Monday. I think by the end of the week, police in Atlanta should have a lot more of a zoned in answer of what actually led up to the death of young Scooter. So we'll keep you guys locked here, and I'm going to be, of course, I'm going to be reaching out, figuring it out. But yeah, they didn't have much. I think that they're kind of going as they can and working backwards to piece together a lot of different things. But this witness is going to be key. So we will keep you locked right here on Loren with the Ladies. That's crazy to say, like, I was about to say on the Breakfast Club, but we're not at the Breakfast Club. We're Loren with the Ladies. We're here on my own show. Now, second, we're going to go to the church, which is crazy because I had some shots. So to go to the church after having, you know, a few shots of tequila is insane. Cheers. We're celebrating y'all at the same time. Like, everybody here right now is celebrating. We're about to go out and celebrate the launch of the show. But we had to record the show because this is a daily show and this is a grind. But we're going to the church with Marvin Sapp. So Marvin Sapp, for some background for you guys who, first of all, do not know who he is. Marvin Sapp is Never Could Have Made It, Never Would Have Made It. That song is probably, like, I would say one of the biggest, like, it's like a calling card to the Black church at this point. Black church, Black funeral, all those things. But he is also a preacher as well. So he was in a church conference. He instructed ushers to close doors, and he instructed people on the live stream and people in the church, including, you know, everybody on the pulpit, to give $20. People on the pulpit had to give $100. So he put a door tab on the hallelujah. And people are not okay with that at all. Like, not at all. And now he's coming out and he's talking about some of the things that he's experiencing because of that. So Marvin Sapp sat down with the Ricky Smiley show, and he's trying to clear it up. Like, I feel like when Marvin Sapp first came out with his statement, once this video went re-viral, because again, this video is from July of 2024. So this is not a new video. It went viral again. I don't know why, but when things are on the internet, that's what it does. But he posted something on Facebook basically saying, like, look, you know, what he basically, I'm summarizing it. But what he was doing is not, let me not summarize it. Let me give y'all what the man actually said, because I don't want to summarize nothing. I don't need no church folk trying to come at me. I'm good with God. Okay? He closing doors and locking doors of churches. I don't need nobody don't send nothing over here. Nothing at all. So what he said was he wanted to add context to the clip that was circulating on social media. He said that he was, you know, he was at a convention. He had over 4,000 people in attendance that evening, including the virtual viewers. And in the moment, he challenged leadership and the people that were viewing to sow different amounts of money. So he asked the 2,000 people that were viewing virtually and in person to sow $20. And when I say sow, for those of you who are not Black church, big hat church goers, sow a seed or sow in the church is like tithes and offering. So that's when you give your money to the church. So he had asked the viewers and the people just attending church to give $20. And then if you were there in any official capacity and on the pulpit, you had to give $100. He made it clear that that evening he personally gave much more. He broke it down. He said he had to pay basically like a licensing or something that he has to do in order to like be able to preach, and then some other things. So he spent well over $2,000 that night, he said. And then he made it clear that even in the Ricky Smiley interview, he made it clear that this money was for the churches. The money that would have raised if it had gotten to the $40,000 amount would have been for the church's like convention budget. It was not going directly to him. This was not even at his church. I don't know if that even really matters though, to be honest with you, because when I saw the reaction to it, I don't think that people were asking like, yo, is this his church? He got to pay his light bill. I know I did. Some people were saying, yo, what bills does he have to pay? But I don't think that it mattered. Y'all care about where, like, when y'all heard this story, did y'all think, is this his church or no? No, you didn't? No. A lot of people didn't care about the location of the church. So I thought that that was kind of odd for him to clear that up. I know what he was trying to do by saying that, but I thought it was odd because to me, it's like, regardless of where you are, it just doesn't look good for a church to be doing tithes and offering and receiving money in that manner. And I think the biggest issue that people had with him and that I had with him personally, I didn't have an issue, but the thing that struck me as like, oh, okay, that was a little bit much, was his tone when he instructed the ushers to lock the doors or to close the doors. Because I think he also said in the Ricky Smiley interview, he never said lock, he said close, but he said it very assertively. Baby, if you had even, don't let your child have had to go to the bathroom during that time. It was a wrap. He had to use a bottle in the back of the church, okay? Because Marvin Sapp was not allowing, but y'all was not touching or agreeing on anything that had to do with anything outside of that room, okay? At all. He was very assertive and he said it multiple times at that. In that moment, watching that video, what I don't like about this is that I feel like in that moment watching that video, you know what you're doing. You understand your assertiveness. You understand your position in the church. You also are a celebrity preacher, gospel artist at that. So your level of influence is so different than any other preacher. But even if it was a normal preacher, the tone of voice, the assertiveness, the amount of times that you said it, child, yeah, like you would have thought something was going down in the church. But he did also try and say too that the reason why he was as assertive as he was because during that time when people were collecting money in church, it's a very vulnerable time. It's an emotionally vulnerable time. And I think he was referring to the fact that, like, you know, just safety wise, because of money being passed around and things of that nature, like people coming in or doing whatever in the church during that time. But let me tell y'all, okay, I go to church. Yes, I take my shots. Yes, I have a good time, but I do go to church. I've never felt like you needed to lock the doors of the church like Rikers Island when it's time to tithe. I've never felt like that. Most of the time, to be honest with y'all, in these big mega churches like where they were, your tithing and your offering is happening digitally. So I don't know if, Marvin Sapp thought that the digital dirty bandits were going to come in and rob everybody of their iPhones and their Wi-Fi, but I don't understand what security breaches he thought might have happened. And also, too, I feel like if that's how you felt about that time, I can understand it being a sacred time only because you're praying. It's like altar call. Like, if you were raised in a church, there are certain times where you don't just get up and leave church. And I can understand that. But I do think the whole, I was trying to make sure that we were safe while money was being passed around or whatever. I know he's a preacher. God forgive me. I'm going to take a shot after I say this. I think that was bullshit. Because there's no way that, it just doesn't happen. That's like me having to go through a security scanner before I walk into a church. There are some churches that do have that, right? But it's an everyday thing. This is not just a one-off thing. And I don't see any other videos of him. And y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Post the videos. Let me see it. If another video comes up again, we'll be right back here talking about it. Because if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But when I'm right, I'm right. I've never seen any other videos of Marvin Sapp. And I don't dislike him. I love his music. I do think that he's an anointed man by God, but I think he's human and he made a mistake. And I would just like for him to own up to that instead of trying to now play victim like he's doing and to act oblivious to what he did and the position that he's in and why people are upset. there are churches that do have security measures. When I went to one church in LA, I was a faithful churchgoer of one church LA. When you come in there, you do walk through security, a security setup. And it's because of the level of publicity that the church gets. You know, the pastor and first lady, you know, of one church is Sarah Jake Roberts. Pastor Torrey is also a very well-known pastor. You know, one church in LA, sometimes you're in church, you have Miss Tina Knowles there. You have tons of celebrities that just come to church, and they're not there with their security. They're just coming to church. So I think that it is a security measure. And we have seen videos of people coming into churches and other places and doing very crazy things. But I think if you're doing all of that prior to the security measures or whatever, you don't have to get on a microphone and say, close the doors, nobody leave. We need to get this amount of money. I just don't see how the two correlate. I think that there was a way to make people feel safe without making them feel trapped. And that's my point. And I think that the interview that Marvin Sapp just did with Ricky Smiley, to me, it was annoying to see it because it's like, okay, I get that you might not have meant any harm by it and you thought you were doing a good thing because you're trying to raise this budget for this church convention. But there are people who solely come to church, and don't get me wrong, churches are businesses. Churches are places that you come, you use their electric, you use their water, you eat their snacks, you use their oil, you eat them crackers that don't taste like nothing, but they cost money. All of that stuff costs money. And I don't know how y'all were raised, but you don't go to nobody's house eating their food and don't ask, can you buy something? You just don't do that. But at the same time, there are people who come to church without anything, who are looking to be put back together so they can get to a point where they can even tithe. And all of us have been there. So I think that it was just distasteful. And instead of, you know, to me, both of the times that I've heard him speak about this, instead of him just coming out and saying, hey, I understand why y'all are upset. I understand why this may be deemed by some as distasteful, even though that was not my intention, but I apologize. And here's what, you know, here's what the conversation around tithing and offering should be. Here's why it matters in the church. Here is, you know, the biblical text around it about, you know, the gifts that were given. Wait, like, this is not new. Tithing and offering, it's not new. Giving gifts, offering up, is not new. But I think that we're getting away from such a major conversation. I think that that's one of the biggest issues when it comes to the Black church. It's like, we focus on things that are like not important to bring us back to around to what people's issue is with the church. It's the humans in the church and their issues. And if you're going to have a human moment, and if you're going to mess up in a human moment, it's fine, but be human to know that that's what's happening. Now, I will say, though, that Marvin Sapp has said that now he's receiving death threats because of this. That's too much. Y'all don't even go to church that much to even care. Okay? Like, that is just too much. Receiving death threats is crazy over this. It's not that big of a deal. But he said that he's receiving death threats. He said that now his children are afraid because he's a widower. His wife passed away. So his children are seeing those different threats online and in the comments, and they're scared for their dad. And because of that, he's had to beef up security at, you know, wherever he's going, his churches. He's had to, you know, do different things at his home. I think that that's unfair. People make mistakes. It happens. Let's all learn from it. Let's all grow from it. But I do think that a little bit more of like an empathy, hey, I messed up, probably would change the tone around this a lot. And I don't think that that's where the focus is right now. And I just don't understand why the focus is not there whatsoever. All of this because of a big misunderstanding pulling up. He even said people are pulling up to the churches and to his church and the churches where he's at with issues. Y'all crazy as hell to pull up on a pastor. Like, when I catch me outside on site with a pastor is really crazy, y'all. Like, I don't know who raised y'all, but like, y'all are taking this a bit far. Like, if you want to create a fake account on Twitter, you know, and tweet a couple things, it's like, ooh, pray about it. God know your heart. But to pull up on a pastor, y'all are really insane, okay? So y'all need to relax a little bit. And I understand people's frustrations, especially during a time like now where people are leaning so much onto religion and faith and, you know, just things that aren't tangible to get them through their day-to-day, because money ain't really as abundant as it was before. Things are expensive. We got this new administration in here. Things are changing so fast. I get it. And I think we've always had issues, especially, I don't go to white churches. I don't go a lot of places where white people be. But Black churches, we've always had issues where, like, why are we giving this money? Are y'all taking advantage? Where does it go? Whatever. I've never felt like that about any church I've attended, but I know that is a conversation. So I think for me, it's always important for pastors and churches to be very transparent. Here's where your money is going. Here's what it's doing. Here's how it works in people's lives, all of that type of stuff because of things like this. And I think that's the bigger issue that I have here. It's like, instead of like, he's saying it and he's like, okay, the money's going here, the money's going there. But it's almost like how dare y'all think that I'm trying to like get over? And it's like, what do you mean? Why not? Because of what? Because you're a man of God? That happens. Because you're a celebrity? Because that happens. Like, and I'm not accusing him of that. I don't think that his intent was ill. I think that it was just I think his wording was wrong. I think his assertiveness was wrong, but I don't think that he has ill intent. I don't know him personally, but that's just not what I gathered from it. And also too, I've seen videos now of other preachers who have done the same thing, almost like a telethon where like you're trying to raise money. So I don't know. Hopefully he sits down and has a conversation with somebody that's going to like challenge him a bit, because love Ricky Smiley. Hey, Ricky, I know you're probably listening. Love you to death. But I didn't feel like he was challenged enough in this conversation either, because there were some things that I feel like were simple conversation or simple questions that should have been asked in response to what he said. So I would say we going to stay locked to this, but baby, hopefully ain't no more, because hopefully the church got what they needed and the conference will happen again next year and he going to save all the saints or something. Now, this has been the latest with Loren Lorosa. I appreciate you guys for tuning on in. Don't forget, we are here daily. So every morning at 6 a.m., I'm your daily dose of what's going down, the breakdown. I'm your homegirl that knows a little bit about everything and everybody. And I'm going to be asking y'all, like, I want to know how y'all feel about the podcast, how y'all feel about the topics. Tweet me, talk to me, at me. I will repost you guys. I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. And everybody, like I said at the top of this, who has let me know, like, oh, I'm listening to the show. I love this. I love that. Keep on doing it, y'all. Keep on doing it. And I'm going to keep doing what I do. I'm going to keep on reaching out. I got to go because we're about to go party. I know it's crazy because I just talked about church, but I'm about to take this final shot. But don't judge me, because I know y'all be at brunch backing that ass up as soon as you leave Altar Call 2. So we're going to do this. Cheers. Cheers to the launch of the latest with Loren Lorosa. And cheers to this just new era of life, baby. I'm feeling where we at right now. And I don't know if it's the tequila that I'm feeling or where I'm at right now. It might be a little bit of both. But I'm doing for all of us. So thank you guys for tuning in. Cheers. I'll see you guys in my next episode.